Welcome to Lesson 37, Part 1. If you happen to have colored pencils or crayons, or at least a variety of pens, highlighters, something to distinguish different colors, that will be helpful for this lesson. You don't have to have it, but it is helpful. So let's look and see. In our table of contents, Lesson 37 is adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. Pages 21 and 22. Alright, so our content objective for 4th grade, NF, numbers, operations, fractions, B.3a. I can understand addition and subtraction of fractions as joining and separating parts referring to the same whole. Language objective. I can use vocabulary related to fractions to communicate how to compare fractions. How to add and subtract. Add and subtract fractions. Social objective. I can work with others to create models to prove the comparison of fractions. To prove the adding and subtracting of fractions. Alright, so we're practicing. We're doing the opposite of last lesson where we were breaking it into the sum of the parts. Now we're going to be joining them together or subtracting out. So we're going to be using that thinking of decomposition to help us. So here I have 1/4 plus 2/4. So if I add 1/4, this is like when you have leftover pizza in boxes and you have just one slice in one box and you move it over to the 2 slices in the other box so you can get rid of one of the boxes. It's kind of the idea of what we're doing here. We're joining the parts together. So I have 1/4 plus 2/4. What do I have? So I shaded in one part, I shaded in 2 parts. How many total parts do I have? I have 1, 2, 3 parts shaded in out of a total of 4. So when we add fractions, the denominator does not change because that tells us how many pieces are in one whole. Only the numerator changes because that tells us how many pieces are shaded in or are left. So here it's hard to see, but we have lines here. So another way to show this exact same fraction is with a fraction bar, which you do have in your on the back of your multiplication chart you can use. So I have 1/4 plus 2/4. So the 1/4 plus 2/4 is 1, 2, 3 out of 4 pieces. 3/4. So that's adding or joining together. Here, subtracting, we're taking away. So we actually start off with 7/8. So we have 7 parts shaded in. So thinking of that pizza again. Hopefully you already had lunch and this isn't making you hungry. So you have a pizza that's only had 1 slice taken out. And you decide to take 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces and eat them. What do we have left? We have 1, 2, 3 pieces out of an 8 possible left. So again, the denominator doesn't change. That tells us how many total pieces are in a whole. Only the numerator changes because that's how many pieces are left. So again, with our fraction bar, sorry that these lines are so light, but we start off with 7 of them filled in. And then we're taking away or removing 1, 2, 3, 4. Or finding the difference, how much more 7/8 is than 4/8. And we have 1, 2, 3 pieces out of 8 left over, 3/8. So that's what we're doing with our addition and subtraction. So first, let's focus on our addition. Here we have 2 6. So 2 out of 6 filled in. Then we're going to add 3, or we're going to join together with that 3 more. And 3 6 is actually half of it. And we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So I have 5 pieces out of a total of 6. Shaded in. So 5, 6. Here we have 4 11ths. And 5 11ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces out of 11 filled in. 4 plus 5 is 9. So here we have some without any models, but we can use the same thinking. I have 1 out of 3 pieces plus 1 more out of 3 pieces, and that gives me 2 out of 3 pieces. The denominator doesn't change, it's still cut up into 3 pieces. So 3 out of 8 pieces plus 2 out of 8 pieces will give me 5 out of 8 pieces. 3 plus 2 is 5. This is subtraction. I'll come back to that later. Here's another addition here though. 2 out of 7 pieces plus 4 out of 7 pieces is a total of 6 out of the 7 pieces. All right, let's go ahead and look at the subtraction now. Here, what we have is 3 6, which 3 6 is actually equivalent to 1/2. So half of this circle is filled in. This would be like 3 pieces of pizza left over. And I'm going to eat 2 of them. I'm going to take away 2 of them. And I'm left with 1 out of 6 possible. 3 take away 2 is 1. The 6 stays the same because it's still cut up into 6 pieces. That's the total amount of pieces of that whole. Here, if I have 5/4, that is what I have. And then I take away or subtract, find the difference between the two. Take away 1, 2, 3, 4. How many more is this? It is one more piece. The difference is 1 out of 11 pieces. So here, looking at the subtraction, the denominator stays the same. Same total amount of pieces, it's just what's shaded in that changes. So if I have 7 pieces out of 8, and I take away 3 of those pieces out of 8, I'm left with 4 pieces out of 8. Now 4/8, this is something that we can do that's called simplifying. I could actually divide both of these by the common factor of 4 and get 1/2. So if it ever says to simplify, it means to find the equivalent fraction in lowest terms. This is correct, but sometimes this is more useful. All right, here, let's go back over here where we had, if I have 3 out of 5 pieces and I take away 1 of those pieces, I'm left with 2 out of 5 pieces. Here, 9/9, that means the whole thing's there. It's just cut up into 9 pieces, but all the pieces are there. If I take away 6 of those 9 pieces, then I have 3 of those 9 pieces left over. This is another one that I have a common factor, and I can get the equivalent fraction of 1/3 in lowest terms. So this is correct, but this is the simplest form and could be more useful, especially when you have to use it with larger numbers. All right, so let's go ahead on to part 2 in our 3-column notes and do some more adding and subtracting of fractions.